everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy. And the fantastic panel tonight is Mary Roddy from MKR Genealogy. Hi, Mary.
Sure.
Good to have you here with always that beautiful quilt. We never know what's going to be
New
behind.
one, brand new. You guys haven't seen this one yet.
Oh, you'll have to tell us about it. Okay. We'll get everybody introduced and then you can tell us about your quilt. And all the way from New York, she's out of town, is Bernice Bennett. Hi, Bernice from Genealogists. Hello, Bernice. And last but absolutely not least is Melissa Barker, the archive lady. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, everybody.
Good to have you guys here. Mary, tell us real quick about your quilt.
So there's a thing called oh man, I just call Block Wednesday. It's a quilt-along, and so this quilt designer releases a new pattern every week, and it's like, I don't know, about 6 months for this project. You have no idea what the next block is going to look like. You kind of pick the colors, the block, and then just trust together that it'll go together pretty.
Well, it did. It's beautiful.
Very good.
So it's really just a quilt top. I have still needs borders and to be put together as a quilt, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. You do such good work. Such good work. Well, on this edition of GenFriends, we're getting close to Father's Day, and we had done in May, we had done our Mother's Day edition, and we brought heirlooms from our maternal line. So we knew we had to do the same thing for our paternal line. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. We are going to talk about different heirlooms that we have, and we're going to ask Melissa if she will help us know how to preserve them. But just in case you watched the maternal one, we got so involved in talking to Melissa that Melissa didn't get her turn to share. Felt so bad, didn't realize it till afterwards. We were just so wanting so much to listen to Melissa tell us that I just completely went over her, and I have apologized to her for that. And so what I've done is said, girl, you're going first tonight so that I don't do it again. So Melissa is going to show us her show and tell for her maternal line, and then tell us how best to preserve it.
Good. I'm going to do my paternal line in a minute, like we're going to do for the show. But since I didn't get to last time, I'm going to show this. This is actually my husband's great-grandmother's butter mold.
Oh my goodness.
When they would make butter, they would use a mold, and it has a design on it.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
And they would use this, and it would say it would come up, you put the butter in there, and then they would push it out and make a butter mold. So
I've never seen anything like that before. That is really cool. I love that.
What's the design? Is it a floral design?
It's can you see it? It's like a leaf. Can you see it?
It's like an oak leaf, isn't it?
Yeah.
Little acorns.
It is.
Wow.
So yeah.
I wonder how much that would set somebody back to buy, or I wonder if somebody made it in the family.
I think it was probably mass produced, because around here it's one of those, everybody has a butter mold around here. We're in the South. We're in the South, and everyone here has got a butter mold. So, because everybody had cows, and they made butter all the time. So
yes, that's
what I'm gonna.
My mom's memories of sitting on her grandparents' porch churning butter. Just butter, because they still churn the butter, and she really would like a butter churn. So I gotta find her a butter churn. Go ahead, Melissa.
But for my paternal line, honestly, I don't have a lot of things from that side of the family. My grandfather died when I was 3. His father died when he was 9. So I just don't have a lot. I don't have a lot for any of my family, but especially that side. So I decided to share some things that my father actually made. He died the day after Thanksgiving in 2019, and he was a 20-year veteran of the Air Force, and then he was a 20-year retiree from a bank in Nashville, Tennessee. And then after that is when he actually got into this hobby, and he was a wood turner. And he started a wood turning club in the city where he lived. and he did a lot of wonderful things. One of the things, I don't know if you can see it, is he made pens.
Oh,
And the
wow.
wood itself, he used different kinds of wood. And you buy all this little stuff here that you add to it to make it a pen. But the wood is, he actually turned from just logs, wood logs.
Oh gosh.
And so he did that. And then he
Beautiful.
also
That's
made
beautiful.
this cup.
Oh wow.
And as you can see, these got these little rings on it.
Uh-huh.
He turned that and he made that. He did not put these on here. He turned it and he made it out of a solid piece of wood.
Oh my goodness.
And he made these in place.
Oh my gosh. She was very gifted, very talented. Wow.
So, and it's a cup. And then the last one I'm going to show, which is very, very big, and I don't hope it can be seen, is he made a bowl.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
It sits on my dining room table.
I'll bet. Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous.
He signed it.
He signed it.
Oh, that is so precious. Oh my goodness.
It's poplar. It's poplar wood, and it's his initials, Bob LeMaster, in 2009.
Wow. Melissa, that's beautiful. So you've got all these wood things. So how?
And I have a ton more.
Oh, I bet.
So,
how are you going to go out about being able to keep those preserved? You've got the butter, you know, the butter slab. How do you preserve all that?
One thing about wood is that as long as you don't put it near extreme heat where it can deform, it can get deformed. If you just set it on a shelf, it'll be fine. This has been just sitting on a shelf in kitchens for decades and decades and decades, and it's still in perfect condition. You know, the rest, anything that's wood, you need to keep it away from moisture,
which is hard to do in the South.
Because some woods are soft and some woods are hard. Your hardwoods are a lot more robust, and you don't have to do a whole lot with them. And so it's like the other day I had someone come in the archives and was talking to me about bricks, old bricks. We have these old bricks from a local town where the courthouse from the early 1800s, like 1805, and they have some of the bricks from that courthouse, and they're going to do a special program and give these bricks to some of the local leaders as a commemorative thing. And so she was asking me, well, how should I preserve them? And I'm like, these bricks have been around since, 1800. I said, just sit them on a shelf. They'll be just fine. As long as you don't drop them, as long as you don't, hit them with stuff, they'll be fine. There's those certain things like that they're fine. Just sitting them on a shelf, they're fine. And so when it comes to wood things like this, unless you have, like I said, some really soft woods, they're real susceptible to humidity, to heat, but the hardwoods, usually they last pretty good while. I mean, look at some of your antique furniture.
Sure.
I mean, unless you do something to damage it, it's going to be there.
Right.
So
thank you. That's what I have. Oh, those are beautiful. What talent your dad had. That's just
he did. He had a lot of great talent.
Right.
You watch him carve the goblet with the rings.
Yeah. I didn't watch him do this, but when he gave it to me, he asked me, he said, Dad, do you think that I carved this and put the rings on here? And I looked at it and you can look, and it's all one piece. So there's no place where he cut it and then put the rings on. He actually did this woodwork, and he did it out of a solid piece of wood, and he made that.
Did he tell you how he got the cement?
No, he wouldn't tell me. He didn't tell me.
Like the magician's puzzle.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
He did tell me that he broke several of them trying to master this. But then when he finally mastered it,
Wow. That's
pretty cool.
Amazing. What a treasure. What a treasure to have, be able to pass down. That's just wonderful. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you for that. Bernice, what do you have to share with us?
Okay, well, let me just tell you a little story first.
Okay.
When I started really into my genealogy, I reached out to a cousin of my father's, and I said, look, do you have any family photos, any pictures of my dad when he was a little boy? Just send me whatever you have. And I said, I found out a lot of information about the family, but can you send me something? And so this is what she sent to me. This is my father, and he was a Western Union delivery boy in 96 South Carolina. This is around 1925. And as you can see, this is some background. Now, this picture was black. I mean, I took it to someone who did some restoration of this picture, and she pulled out what was in the back because I couldn't really see a whole lot. And this is my father, of course, much older, but I wanted to share with you all of that, you know, sometimes you don't have pictures of your parents when they're very young. And he was born in 1911. And so this is what I wanted to share with everyone.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Isn't it interesting? Because we do that. We think of our grandparents or our parents as our parents and grandparents, and then we find a picture of them when they were young, or, you know, this cute little teenager wearing these really cool clothes for the time period, and like, oh, that's right, they're real people. And they have real lives and real emotions. So that just demonstrated that. I love pictures. Thank you for sharing that, Bernice. That was wonderful. Thank you.
I want to say, you know, before we started recording, Bernice was talking about, tell us about how you had the photo restored.
Now, it wasn't this one, it was another one.
Okay, well, tell us about that, because that was very interesting.
But I used the flip pal, and I had a portrait that was really in pieces, and I stitched everything back together again. And by stitching it together, created the portrait all over again. And then I sent it to restoration specialists, and they put the whole portrait together. And I'll find it and share it with you while Mary is talking.
Oh, fabulous.
I just wanted to say that, you know, I get questions all the time about photographs and about damaged photographs. And one thing that Bernice is talking about, which is wonderful, is the ability that we have now, the programs and things that we have that we can, like she talked about, stitch together a photograph, or even lighten a photograph, or repair damage electronically. But also, there are specialists out there that do that. There are a lot of specialists out there. There's paper conservators that help with your documents. There are photograph conservators, and so reach out to them and find those people, because a lot of us have these documents and photographs, but especially photographs that are dark in the background. Maybe there's something back there that we can't see, that are damaged, that maybe can be brought out. And so it's important, you know, not to discount the fact that you have damaged photographs and documents and think, oh, well, that's just how it is, nothing I can do about it. You would be very surprised what a conservator can do.
Yes, actually, I was surprised that she was able to draw out. She said, I can do this. And she worked on it, and then she sent it to me. She said, look what I found. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I've been playing with different programs now, with Big and also with my heritage, just to see what the photo would look like.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. There are, like Melissa said, there's a lot of places out there. We've got Vivid Pics, we've got My Heritage. There's a lot of different programs that we can play with too. But there are people who are professionally trained to do it as well. So, and that I remember when My Heritage first came out with taking the black and white photos and making them color. And I love the black and white. I think they've got so much character, but I also like just playing with turning it to color, because things popped out that you didn't see in the black and white. Things in the background specifically I could find and say, oh my gosh, I know where they were. Or, you know, I can tell what they've been doing, because your mind just sees that black and white, and sometimes the things in the background don't pop out. So play with your photos on these different sites and see. And I'll put some links in there for those things too. So Bernice, did you get your other picture up?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Yes, here's her gold ring.
Yeah.
Ah.
This is it. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
That's my.
Who is she? Say it again.
My grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Yes.
Oh.
She passed away at the age of 32 in 1928.
Oh,
wow.
My father still had her portrait.
Oh.
And I mean, And on the back, it's written September, it has a date 1912.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, how lucky you are to have a name and a
That's
date
awesome, yeah.
and the picture.
Actually had it on the back, yes. And I
Mhm.
still have it. I still have all the pieces, but you
Mhm.
know, I stitched them together and sent it to the person. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That is absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Bernice. Thank you. Mary, what did you bring to share?
I have a couple things. This is a framed postcard. It's a ferry boat on San Francisco Bay.
Oh,
And there's the back of the postcard from
cool.
1913. And this is in California. My grandfather was a ferry boat engineer on San Francisco Bay. And so the postcard is actually written to somebody from his hometown, to Mrs. Hiram Jennings in Webster, New York. So all the way across the country. And he says, Saturday, June 21st, Chaz Kircher is engineer of this boat. I came across the bay on it this morning. Leave at 9 o'clock for Lake Tahoe, get there Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Wallace. But it's just so cool that, you know, friends of my dad or my grandfather, when he grew up, came to visit California and rode on his boat and sent the evidence back home. That I thought that was really cool.
That is so cool to have that. I was just going to say, how did you get that? But it's because they.
Yeah. So one of my semi-distant cousins. So my grandfather's sister's grandson sent me a box of things, and this was in it. So I guess
I love box of things.
The infamous box. That is so nice to have. That's just precious.
It's just I grew up, you know, near San Francisco Bay. I mean, we sailed on San Francisco Bay when I was a kid, and there's a ferry boat, the Eureka, docked at Hyde Street Pier in San Francisco, and that was my grandfather's boat. And there's a picture of him on it.
Oh,
so,
that's so great.
Yeah, we have a lot of maritime history in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then I've also brought a Bible, and this is I mean, you can see the size of it. It's about a palm-sized Bible, and it says, presented to Frances Springer from her mother, 1872, December 25th. And so this was a Christmas gift to my great-grandmother from my great-great-grandmother.
Wow.
And they were German, all in German
wow.
script, or German font. And it has some of the information in it. It says right here, we were married.
Oh. And I love that
12th.
you have to flip through the pages sometimes to find
Gotta find it, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you looked at those pages to see if there's any significance to why she wrote it there?
It was the end of the Old Testament. And then here's the beginning of the New Testament. It's that one page. So she wrote at the end of the Old Testament, we were married March 12th, 1878. And then this is their children. So this is right there, Charlie A. Kircher. He's the ferry boat guy. Her oldest son.
Very cool.
That is so cool.
And so she wrote it, and then she writes her, you know, about their kids. They had 4 kids, my great grandparents, and then her husband's information and hers. And she says, I was born in Liverpool. She was born in Liverpool, New York, which is, you know, nice.
Yeah. Great information.
It is.
And I actually, in my craft thing, I took scans of these Bible pages and I made a collage out of them.
Yes. Did you show us
just
that one?
Electronically, I did show it to you.
Yes.
And just did it electronic. This is the Bible it came from. And I did put that page where it says we were married. And that's one of the featured pieces.
Yes, yes.
And then, you know, I just printed it on cardstock and cut out wings, angel wings out of it. And just a very simple gift, but something really easy to share with all of Frances. Her name was Franklin, actually. Franklin Abalone Springer. And she was identified on 2 censuses as a boy.
Oh, it happens.
1860 federal, 1865 New York. I think by 1870 she was finally developing a girlish figure, and they recognized that no, that's not a boy.
I have a great grandmother that I identified as a boy on the census because of her name. Her name was Louise, but it was spelled Louis. No E.
So they thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, they thought it was.
It's interesting, Mary, that Bible, because I know during that time period they made what was called women's Bibles, and they were usually those small handheld Bibles. And I've often wondered, because I don't know how they read those things, because the type is so small.
Yeah. I couldn't read it because it's in German. So
well, I know, and I've often wondered why they made them so small, just because they see women as small and petite, or I've never really looked into that. I knew that they sold Bibles particularly for women, and they were usually a lot smaller than the men's Bibles.
Maybe it was to put in their little bag to take.
Was that in the Bible?
It's in the Bible.
Oh,
I don't know.
I love finding things in Bibles. Yeah.
And another leaf.
Have you tried to identify the leaves?
No.
See, I'm one of those. I would try to identify the leaves, and
what kind of tree it was.
Yeah, that's just me.
So I know that they make special boxes to put things like that.
Yes, they do.
To help.
Now that's a small one. They make I want to say groupings, like a box and paper and different things for a Bible. But since that's smaller, and one thing that I tell people is they go, well, I can't find a box. I'll never be able to find a box for this, an archival box. All of the archival stores sell boxes that are this small up to boxes that take up a whole desk. And then if they don't have it already there for you to buy, you can contact them and they will make you a custom box. Now it's going to cost,
my goodness,
but they will make you a custom box. If you will tell them what you have, your dimensions and everything, they'll make you that custom box and send it out to you.
Oh my goodness. That's a really good tip. Thank you. Because I've got a huge Bible that belonged in my grandmother's. I mean, it's one of those big, huge family. I mean, it's huge family Bible.
I have one of those too.
Yeah.
That's why I encourage people to get the actual catalog to these places, because when you go on their website and you go to the box, they're on their that page, there's drop down menus that it tells you sizes. A lot of people don't look at that, but when you get the catalog, they have them all listed with the sizes. And you can see it a lot better. For me, anyway, I do better with a paper catalog.
That's a good tip. Thank you. Thank you. And I was going to ask about Mary's postcard. So she's got it framed.
Yes. But having it framed is fine. All I would suggest, and Mary probably knows this, is don't let it get in sunlight, because it can wash off the writing on the sun, But no, it's fine just the way it is.
I love it that way, so you can actually see it. I've got some postcards. I like to collect postcards from the different places that my ancestors lived, but I do happen to have a postcard that was sent from sister to sister, and it's got all this wonderful information, but I've been scared I don't want anything to happen to it, but doing what Mary did and putting it in a frame like that probably would be a better solution so that people could see it.
This is made for it. It has little things that can.
That's nice.
It's encased between
and
two pieces of glass.
In case, that's even better.
That's actually a type of laminating, which is not necessarily archival, but as you can see, it's not yellowing. It's not having any problems at all. Like I said, just keep it out of sunlight, because sunlight is extremely damaging.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let me show you what I've got. First of all, I've talked about my grandfather before, who died in World War II, and I have got his Purple Heart. I don't know if we can hold it so y'all can see it. That's his Purple Heart. And I got his dog tag too. He died on the island of Peleliu, and this is the dog tag that was sent back, which I think is really interesting. My grandmother gave away so many things of his when she remarried, but I think she kept these things for his son and then passed away, and then I've been able to get to them. So it's just stayed in the same, this is the same box that it came in. And so I didn't know if there's something different that I need to do with it. I haven't really
no, when it comes to military medals, especially when they're in their presentation cases, you leave them in the presentation cases, because the cases themselves are also historical.
True.
Yeah, and so you know, and if you want to display them, again, just be careful how they're displayed. I wouldn't display them permanently, you know, just keep them out for a little while and put them back. But for the main part, I would lightly wrap it in some archival tissue paper and then put it in an archival box. Pretty simple, you know, and like I said, and storage, where you store your things, regardless of what it is what's the most important. You want to store everything that you have that's like that in a cool, dark, dry place.
I've got a drawer that I keep it in. And I just
temperature and humidity fluctuations. I mean, if you keep your temperature at a certain level, your humidity levels at a certain level, that's great. But if you bring up your temperatures and bring down your temperatures, and the fluctuations is what causes a lot of the deterioration in our papers and in our photographs. They're already deteriorating every day, every minute of every day. So that's why when you go into an archive or a library, it's so cold and you have to put on your sweater because we're keeping our temperatures down, because colder is the best. Have you ever heard of glass plate negatives?
Yes.
Yeah. In an archive setting, glass plate negatives are stored in the freezer, in the deep freeze.
Oh.
So if you ever come across a glass plate negative index or collection on a particular archive's website, and you're going to need to access that, you will need to contact them probably a week in advance, because they're going to have to bring it out of the deep freeze. They have to come to room temperature, and then they can make a copy of the photo, if they'll even do it. But and we just went through this. Our local historical society just went through this. We actually found a cache of photographs that were taken by the Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, in our area around 1943, when they flooded and made Kentucky Lake. And it actually flooded a town called Danville. Wiped it off the face of the earth. They tore all the buildings down. Everybody moved away and everything. But before they did it, they came in and took pictures of the area. And TVA donated all of their photos to the National Archives in Georgia. I think Georgia or Alabama. And we were doing some other research on something, and we found these, but they were on glass plate negatives, and they were in the deep freeze.
Oh my goodness.
And so we have been able to get over 200 photographs of our area from that collection. Wow. But it took a long time because they had to thaw out so many, and then they had to make copies, but so yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, is there anything special I need to do with that dog tag? I mean, should I just wrap it?
No.
For me, it's metal. It's gonna.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Okay.
Those have been even buried forever, and you can pull them up, and they might have a little bit of rust on them maybe, but for the most part, they last just fine.
Then I was going to show you both of my grandfathers served in World War II. One came home, one didn't, but we found this little Bible that he was given before he left, and it's metal, because they put it in their pocket, so if a bullet hit, right, it should save him. But I love this because inside, actually, his my grandmother, his wife's grandparents got this for him, and so their names are in it. So
very nice.
So he carried this around with him all during World War II. And he was a cook. And he went to Germany, and he went to France, and he was a cook. So anyway, we just recently found that, maybe about 5 years ago. It was in a box in my parents' attic, and the only other things that were in this box were old clothes. So how it got in this box. So always look through things, even if you think, oh, that's just old clothes. Look through it. The other last thing I was going to show you is this grandmother that gave him this Bible. This was her parents, her father's book. So it's a little diary. It's a little farm diary from 1889. And it goes through the different days. We had rain today, but it talks about people in the community too. And I've actually been able to find some death certificates. So they'll say so-and-so died. So I'll go look them up, and I found them, and the crops that they were planting and all sorts of stuff. It's only about a year's worth, but it's just a year in his life, a few months in his life of his planting and cultivating his crop, and the people that were coming to help him and things like that. So it just says it's a memorandum book that he probably just bought at the feed store. He went to buy. I'm trying to get it so you can see it. There we go. But
here did you keep it?
It's 1889, so it's just only 1889, and so it's starting to come apart, and so I try not to open it up very often because it's coming apart. And so, but I did go.
Have you thought about digitizing it and transcribing it for the local historical society that that's from, so that the people that are mentioned in there, maybe those researchers could benefit? Because I always tell genealogists, if you go to an archive and your ancestor didn't leave any scrapbooks or diaries or old letters,
could be something
read
like
the
this.
neighbors' scrapbook, diaries,
absolutely.
and old letters.
I should. I have taken several pictures of different pages and transcribed a page or two here, but I do need to do the whole thing. And so that
I think that would be great. Because that's information that hasn't been disseminated yet. We always talk about discovering things, and that our research is never done, because look, you have something sitting at your house that you don't know about. Nobody knows about.
Nobody knows about it, right? And so what is your suggestion? I've got several old Bibles and things like this. I should have brought to show you, I've got a Bible that somebody, it looks like catgut, and they took it and they sewed and sewed the spine back together. It's a really old late 1800s, early 1900s book, and so they sewed it back together. So
just when it comes to books like that, I mean, especially since they're kind of small, you could just lightly wrap them in some archival tissue paper. If they have a leather binding, what's important to keep in mind is if you have a leather binding, or if you have an animal skin binding. A lot of times they bound books with animal skin. You want to get the unbuffered tissue paper, because that doesn't have any alkaline in it and won't harm the animal skin, anything that's living. Or otherwise just get buffered archival tissue paper, and then just put them in an archival box. And they're small, so you probably could fit more than one in a box. And if they're moving around, just crumple up some paper and put it in there so it doesn't move.
Yeah, I've got quite a Bible collection, and I like to. I want to put them out so people can see them, but I probably shouldn't, because they're going to deteriorate.
You could put them out, but just don't leave them out for a long time.
They're in a glass case, and it doesn't see any sun because of the wall that I've got it on. I'm sure it's going to get some, but maybe that's what I need to do, is just rotate it, keep it in storage, unless I know that we're having some kind of family get together, and I want them to see them, that they're there, so they know that they're there. That's a good idea.
Birthday month or something.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Birthday month. Yeah. I've got several that somehow I was just lucky enough to get passed down to me. So both sides of the family. So
normally in an archive setting, especially if you go to an archive where they have exhibits and displays, their exhibits and displays usually don't last more than, I would say, 6 months. And one of the reasons is because they don't want their stuff out that long, and they'll put it back and they'll change it over to something else,
Right. But I figure if you do leave it out, at least your kids and grandkids will know you have it. So they can see that it's there, and then just tell them I only, keep it out so y'all could see it through this glass case. And then when you go, I'm going to put it back in the boxes, and this is where the boxes are. Let them know where all the stuff is, right?
Right.
And I know we've talked about before, making sure we write the stories of our stuff.
Absolutely. That's really the most important part, because it's like some stuff that our children and grandchildren are going to look at and go, well, why do they have this?
Yeah.
Well, there's a story behind it.
Exactly.
And so we need to leave those stories, get them out of here and put them down on something.
Right. I've got a it looks like an old yellow bowl, just old yellow bowl, but it's a bowl that my grandmother kept after her husband, my grandfather, died. And why she kept that bowl, I don't know, because she got rid of letters. She got rid of so many things when she got married again, but she kept this bowl. And so I've had to tell my kids, the reason this old yellow bowl is in this cupboard is because this was your great-grandfather's bowl.
Mhm.
So it goes nowhere after I'm gone. You keep the bowl.
That
He
could have been
ate
his favorite
he ate his-
cereal bowl or his
Apparently
favorite
he ate
soup
his
bowl, or who
breakfast in
knows.
there, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Give it to her for a gift or something.
yeah, yeah. So that it's so important because I can see it being thrown away because I've got some silver plates too. And my grandmother would first she'd say this was her mom's and she'd go, no, it wasn't that one that was mom's. It was this one. And so because she didn't, you know, she didn't remember. And so I just
Mhm.
kept all of them because one of them was her mother's. So I can tell people that. But guys,
That's
this has
right.
been great. I love seeing what everybody else has. It's just a wonderful thing to see your heirlooms and your, you know, your photos, all those things that belonged to our ancestors. They're so precious, and we need to make sure that we're keeping them safe so we can keep passing them on from generation to generation. And so thank you for sharing. And Melissa, thank you so much for being our go-to person so that we know how to keep all these things safe. You are always just full of all this wonderful information. We really appreciate you. And so we want to
Cheri, if you'll put my email in the notes, anybody can email me and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Absolutely will. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say happy Father's Day since we did, you know, the paternal line. We had to give the dads their fair share since we did the moms the last time. So with that, take care of your heirlooms, everybody. And, you know, with Father's Day coming, look and see what you've got. Look and see what you've got for your paternal line. If you haven't looked for a while, look at some of those documents, look at some of the things you have, or make some phone calls and do some interviews on that paternal line and see what kind of things that you can find. So with that, we'll say goodbye and we will see you next time on GenFriends. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.